Today I'm feeling different, So today I just want to talk. How we talk about how media influences society, and particularly today I want to talk about how media is used to influence one part of society, and that's real estate. And I think the best way to kind of describe this is to point to this guy online who does short videos on Instagram that I come across, and he talks about many other things, and among them he talks about the Nigerian real estate. And one of the terms that he was using to describe it, because that kind of captures it for me, is when he calls it one atamu real estate, because he's using this term to describe a type of apartment that is in some estates that has been built, and the entire estate, or probably the area, is devoid of the necessary infrastructural support that is supposed to be there. Electricity, power, security, water, good roads, all of that. And despite this, the house prices over there are completely ridiculously overpriced. And the crazy part is that how this comes to be accepted as normal is that a lot of influencers come online and value this house for people. So someone will come online and say, this house right here is worth $250 million. And I mean, an average entrepreneur will say, it's let the market decide, right? But that brings to question how media is being used to influence society. Because here's the thing, that amount is ridiculously high. So people can say, let the market decide. If he wants to sell his house like that, whoever wants to buy can buy it. But you miss the trend when you look at it like that, because this is it becomes a cultural awareness. Now, when you put a house at the way we see it, $200 million, in Ikoyi or in Aja or somewhere in one of those posh estates, even in Abuja, people learn to accept that that's how it is. And when they're making their own estate, they imagine that's the figure we should put. And that's a problem, because the people who should be responding to it, the regulators, for example, on the government side, who should be responding to this, they are not very savvy with using the internet, with using the media, with responding with as much speed as the internet would allow these other actors to do. So what often happens is that they are unable to respond, and then that price range gets adopted as the norm. So you go to almost all the places in Jahi, in Abuja, and those 3-bedroom semi-detached apartments are going for 300 million, 200 million, 400 million. And I like how that, I really like that content creator, because he doesn't just talk about the houses, he also makes this nice linkages between how overpriced things affect the economy. He says that if you are working in a place and you cannot afford to buy the product or the service that is being sold there, that tells you should probably leave that place. Which is what these influencers who are pushing the real estate market in Nigeria are doing. You have a house, and the house is ridiculously overpriced. Let's give it a rate of what? Let's say $200 million, right? That's 3 billion naira. How many people in Nigeria, how many can afford 3 billion naira for a house, for one house, And you enter the estate and there are 50 or 100 of those, and that's not the only one. There are houses that are even more expensive than that one inside of that estate. And why we think is a problem is because when you talk about how this, the media has been used to fuel this cultural change, you forget that the average salary in places like Abuja, for example, the average person collects about 500,000 naira, And at the end of the month, how much does he save? If he's lucky, he saves 100. Some don't save as much as 50. But do you know if you collect 500,000 naira as salary, in fact, if you save 500,000 naira monthly from whatever it is you are getting as salary, if you save that for 1 year, that's 6 million naira. If you save that for 10 years, that's 60 million naira. Removing inflations, if you save that for 50 years, 50 years. 50 years. You can't buy one of the houses that you see in Jahi, which goes above 300 million. What does that tell you? That tells you that the prices that are being put there are ridiculously out of touch with the earning that the society allows you to get. And that's what's happening. That's what kind of needs to be addressed, right? There are many gaps in that I've talked about, but that's where the real problem is. The people who you're advertising this to can't afford it. So it means you're advertising to some people. If you're advertising a house of 500 million, in a country where averagely, some security officials are still receiving 30 to 50,000 naira a month as their salary. What does that tell you? That tells you that you are inviting people to come and commit crime. You are inviting people to, go out of their way to get money to do, those big things. So I think this thing has to be a policy conversation, right? You have to be able to address the fact that people can set prices on their houses across Nigeria without regulation. And that's the conversation that needs to happen. Who's regulating this real estate market? How is the regulation taking place? And you know what? Before I even go far, I know what you're going to say. The people who are supposed to be regulating this thing are actually the elites who have had the money and have built those real estates. So it's like a cyclical loop, right? Nobody's going to solve the problem. But I think it's good to start to have the conversation that because you're a senator or you're a House of Rep member or you have illegal money at your disposal to build and overprice houses, that doesn't mean you're going to get your money back. Nobody will rent a house. Just so you know, nobody will rent a house. And until you participate in the type of policy that will allow people to do what? To have access to affordable homes, that's when your money will grow. Otherwise, you will have a society where people cannot afford to do what? To even pay their rent. And when they cannot pay their rent, they can't even have time to be innovative enough to do businesses or invest in the things that will change your society. You think you are benefiting from it, but what you will do is that you are going to run at a loss in the end. So that's what this episode is all about. Let's talk about this thing, because the prices now, they are driving me mad. They are driving me mad. It's easy for you to say, oh, it's more expensive outside Nigeria. Yeah, but outside Nigeria and in developed countries, they have what? You deal with security, you deal with, all the other things, electricity, safety, and then you price the house at that value. Don't give us those lakba buildings, those, those Akamo buildings, and expect people to accept those prices like that. All right, see you next episode.